At the heart of an industrial revolution is an innovation that changes everything. Building AI Boston sees artificial intelligence as a renaissance. From the heart of innovation and the mecca of tech learning, we bring you AI for Real People, a conversation for everyone.
Hi, welcome to Building AI Boston, where we are broadcasting live from Startup Boston Week. And today we have Brendan Witcher joining us, coming back for the second time. Hey, Brendan.
Hey, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. It's nice to get downtown.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's funny. Back in the day, I used to work in this building, and I have to say, I miss downtown crossing.
Yeah,
I really do.
Boston downtown's such a fun place to be. It's a great place to spend the day. Hang out. And this is a beautiful building. It's a great conference we're at here today. So really enjoying it.
That's great. And have you had a chance to go to any sessions today?
Yeah, I popped into a few of them, taking a look at what was going on, what people were talking about. Obviously, AI is the big, theme of startups these days. So no shortage of those conversations. But of course, the conference focuses on leadership and other things of that nature, which is really nice as well. So it's a nice mix here. If you missed it this year, I suggest people come down next.
Yeah, definitely. And it does seem to be pretty much you can wake up every morning and go to an AI event right now in Boston. It feels that way. Like we know we have Startup Boston Week, and then in a few weeks we have AI Week, Boston AI Week. But this is the first time ever they've done that in Boston. So
yeah, no shortage.
No shortage.
No shortage of conversations about technology innovations and AI here in Boston these days. But you'd expect it, right? With Harvard, MIT, and all these colleges. Plus you've got all these big already baked in AI companies already out here.
Yeah.
iRobots out here as an example, right?
Exactly.
And then you got Boston Dynamics is out here. So it's a town. It's a town built for AI innovation.
It is, and we definitely are trying to make sure we're on the map and not being forgot between the other sort of coastal cities out there, right? So when you think about AI, and you think about AI in Boston in particular, and we think about our ecosystem and what makes it special. So aside from the sort of the universities and things like that, do you think that we're doing anything unique here in terms of how we approach AI, in terms of how we're building?
I think one of the things I would say, let me start with the younger generation first on this topic, which I think is really important. I mean, with the schooling that we have and the schools that we have, I mean, when you're going to attend one of these universities that's really at the forefront of some of this, you have to be someone who loves to think.
Right.
You have to be someone who has intellectual curiosity that is baked into your DNA, right? 24/7, you want to know what's going on. You want to understand new innovations excite you. Right. This is different than the older generations where it's like, I don't want things to change because I make a lot of money, because of the way things are. And if I've got to learn something new, then I don't really want to do that. So, the natural state of Boston's great, very vibrant college communities really is a nice sort of bedrock for innovation and things that are going on here. And this is why you see companies opening up, locations here, even if they're not headquartered here, because we have so much of that curiosity, that intellectual curiosity that's either here already, or that's coming in, transferring in as students, both graduate and undergraduate. And so I think it's a great place to find that talent, and especially that talent that is born with AI. And I wouldn't say born, obviously, because they're not born in the sense of coming into the world that way, but they're coming into their continuing education with AI already being part of the conversation, which is a little different. Like if you grow up, let me give you an example. If you grow up in a household where they speak both Spanish and English, you don't think twice about the idea of speaking Spanish and English and swapping off back and forth, and it's a very natural thing for you. If you are in your fourth year of college, your school, or even in a continuing graduate program, you would have needed to adjust your thinking throughout your education about how AI is going to impact some things, right? Which is this generation now coming in already has a very sort of there's a fairly mature in the world of tech, a fairly mature conversation already going on about AI, and so I think they're coming into the education with it as part of the story arc. And that just gives them, quite frankly, an advantage. And so I think companies recognize that and say, well, where are these people going to get their education? And a lot of times it's right here.
It's Boston, right? And we had some pretty big news in Boston about a global company relocating here as Hasbro.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? They're coming to Boston.
Yeah, I see Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head being very AI driven in the future.
I see. Yeah, very, very much.
Just I have nightmares about Mr. Potato Head coming in my room and talking to me like it's an Alexa device. But hey, to each its own.
Hey, if it could happen, we'll build it here, right?
That's right, exactly.
But it's interesting what you say about thinking, right? Because in our last episode, you made the great observation that people pay you to think. Like that's your job, right? And so I know we dug into that in the last episode, but that's a pretty cool job, right? To think. So tell us more about that, and how the heck do you keep one step ahead of this stuff when everything's changing so fast?
Yeah, quite frankly, the secret sauce to this is access to great industry professionals that are out there.
Right.
Like I like to say I don't have an original thought. I don't have an opinion. There is no Brendan
don't believe
stamp.
that.
No, I'm telling you, like the reality is that as an analyst,
Right.
And I mean, if you went to brennanwitcher.com, you would see this posted on my website, is that I don't have an opinion about things. Like, my job is to communicate in truth without a Brendan sort of filter on it. What is it that's going on? What's the truth that's going on? Mm-hmm. Like if everybody was dropping AI and going back to analog things, I would say everyone's going back to analog because that's my job.
So the data would be telling you that's what's happening,
That's right.
and you would tell us what the data told you, whether or not we thought that was what we wanted to hear.
It's one of the reasons I like being an industry analyst and being a industry pro is that, or someone who is is paid to create thought leadership.
Right.
The reason I like it, and it's the reason I got out of the industries I was in, is that I can put my head down on the pillow at night and say, I told the truth all day today.
Right.
I told people the truth. I allowed them. Now, whether they accepted that truth or not, that's up to them, right? Like, I don't own whether or not people listen to what I have to say and then do it. Like,
Right.
that's up to them. It's a free country. It's a free world. You can do whatever you want. But my job is to communicate truth. And that comes from the people that are out there doing it day in and day out. So, I think that there are some people that believe, because I'm well known, then what I say is important. And I'm not of that mindset. I'm more of the mindset like, because I'm well known, I have the luxury and the benefit and the privilege of communicating from a huge network of people, industry leaders, Fortune 500 companies. I've worked with, over the last 12 years, I've worked with 59 out of the top Fortune 100 companies, on their strategies, and
Right.
eight of the top 10. And that is something that drives what I tell other people and what is going on out there in the industry. It's not, I saw something on CNBC and now I'm just parroting that out to the market.
Right.
It's, a CEO at a top 10 Fortune 10 company told me, these are my real struggles and this is how I'm addressing it and this is that. Right now I'm under NDA with everyone on the planet, so I can't be like,
You can't talk to
hey,
anybody about
so-and-so said,
anything.
I'm
Yeah.
not Gossip Central, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it's nice because, I don't know that some people love that I say this, but I'm kind of like legalized espionage in some
Right.
ways. It's like
yeah.
I know what everyone's. When I walk through malls
Right.
or like downtown or whatever, I'm like, oh, I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I know what
Right.
they're doing. I can't even tell my wife what it is that they're working on, right? Because I'm
Yep.
under NDA with everyone.
Yep.
But it's nice because I can communicate in an aggregated fashion.
Right.
Like what comes out of my mouth or what I write on paper is the aggregate conversations of the people that I'm talking to
Right.
day in and day out who are living it. Not people who've written books on it and, thought about it or tried to teach it in a school, but actually the people doing it day in and day out.
And that's so important, so refreshing in this environment where so much of the information we get is just biased, right? So and we know, like, we're seeped in that, like, from the minute we wake up to the minute we go to bed at night. And so to have that kind of interpretation of just truth, or not even interpretation, that reporting of truth is like so rare, and why, companies like Forrester are so valuable, right, to people, because they help them understand. And the minute you stop being independent and you read those tea leaves wrong, like, that's the end of it, right? Because you have to build that credibility. And we all know how easy it is to misinterpret data, right?
Oh,
What
yeah.
it's telling you.
Oh yeah, it's
Right?
it's so simple. And the thing of it is, like, if you're going to be a trusted asset, I like,
Yeah.
you know, I went through an exercise a few years ago where I kind of said, you know, who am I to the people that I serve, and I
Right.
want to be a trusted asset. And both of those words mean a lot to me, right?
Right.
An asset is something you value. An asset is something that's a benefit to you. It is something that creates, you know, sort of equity for you, right? But trusted is a big word. Right? What do you do? Not only to create a trusted asset, do you have to build that trust, you have to keep that trust.
Right.
Right? And so trusted is an ongoing word. It's an ongoing sort of thing. And so to maintain that, you really do have to have some level of integrity, and you can't just say whatever you feel like saying. You know, I sometimes am known to say, like, I think this is really interesting because the truth of the matter is life is interesting enough.
Right. Yeah.
You don't actually have to make stuff up
You don't.
to make it interesting.
Right.
I think what happens is people will say, "Oh, look at this headline, you know, that's in the news and da da da," and that's good, but that's for generating clicks.
Right.
That's for distracting you from the next headline that's going to be just as dramatic or have a bunch of hyperbole attached to it or whatever it is, right? So that to me is where I'm not competing with that. Right? My job is to help companies actually get business outcomes.
Right.
My job is to help them not make poor business decisions, especially in a world where the headlines might be suggesting that you should make certain decisions. Right?
Right.
A number of years ago in the retail industry, as an example, there was a lot of talk about, you know, these companies like JCPenney and others were closing their stores, and they're like, there was this huge sort of retail apocalypse story about like stores are dead, blah, blah, blah. That was absolutely not the truth. The truth was we were shopping in stores more than like 75% of our sales still were in physical stores. The companies that were shutting down were brands that had brand problems.
Right.
Right? They were the Radio Shacks, the JCPenney's, the Kmart's, the Sears. These are brands that had lost touch with customers and had nothing to do with physical stores.
Right.
It's just physical stores is where you can save the most money. So they were shutting down stores, and the media picked it up as this story. Now, the danger of that, of course, is that other people who are in retail, they go, oh, look, stores are irrelevant. And we saw a huge slowdown in investments in physical stores simply because of the media story,
Right.
not because of the truth.
Right.
And so, you know, it's really quite something to be in the spot that I'm in, because I'm lucky in that way, because I get to say what it is, and it may sound contrarian at times, but that's because the point of why I say things, which is for helping clients get to the truth and to make smart business decisions, is different than me trying to get as many likes or views or clicks
Right. You're not
on my story.
You're not just trying to be this, like, you know, talking head getting, you know, all the attention for that. It's like you want so it's back to the data, right? So now, one thing you said last time we talked was that really stuck with me, was how we have now a whole new trove of data that was useless before. And I think it was the Oracle person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Hurd.
Mark Hurd. So thinking about what do we do now and who's going to win and lose? Not that it has to be that black and white, but when we open up now access to all this data that we didn't used to be able to understand or mine or use or whatever, what does that change? And where are the smartest sort of like people who are thinking about this in the right way, sort of grasping that opportunity?
I think the very tip top, the very smartest people that I know in industry are starting to realize that in a world where AI, I think, you know, one of the other guests that you've talked to in the past talked about how we don't know the real impact of AI to the extent, right? Could be everything, could be nothing, could be somewhere in between, I think was her statement.
Yep.
And I like that statement, because I don't think we do know that fact yet. But I think that one of the things that the smartest companies I know are doing is that they are absolutely rethinking what I would call their data strategy. A data strategy is not data sharing, it's not data sourcing, it's not data security, it's not data storage. It's a lot of alliterations, I know.
Yeah,
But
that's
you know, a data strategy is this idea of understanding, you know, if we knew X, we could do Y.
Right.
Like just that basic understanding of saying, you know, if I had a certain knowledge of certain pieces of information, then I could do certain things for the people I'm trying to serve. And that's in a B2B or B2C scenario, tech buying, tech purchasing, tech selling, whatever it is. The idea is that if I can learn more, then I can do more. Companies today are not getting beat because they have better products, better assortment, better services. And this is a huge thing that's different from what was 10 years ago. I kind of caution people that are just getting into business now, like your elders lived in a different world.
Yeah.
They lived in a world where if I wanted a screwdriver, like a screwdriver or a hammer, my options were people that were in a few miles from me. Mm-hmm. In this world, I can get anything I want anywhere. Right? Assortment used to be how you win consumers. Mm-hmm. Consumers today don't say I can get a hammer at 5 places. They say I can get it at 50 places.
Right.
And so that becomes something that's not good for business strategy, is thinking we'll win with great products. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got great products. Right? It's not a thing that's going to win.
Right.
What's going to win is your ability to understand those customers better.
Right.
And that's where I'm seeing the best of the best out there, is they're thinking about an unstructured data strategy. That's the one thing that I see a commonality across all these companies, is they're not just using AI for the data that they have, and they're certainly not just using it on structured data. They're using it on unstructured data to create those net new capabilities, those net new experiences that make consumers go, or even companies they're trying to serve go, that was different. Mm-hmm. That served my needs. That was something that created convenience, simplicity, ease, cost savings, whatever it is.
Yep.
I have a benefit by having a relationship with you. And in fact, not only do I see you as a supplier of something for me, I see you as someone it makes strategic sense for me to have a relationship with you. And it sounds like I'm talking about business, but I'm also talking about life.
Right.
And people's personal lives.
Right.
Like, I don't mean to turn life into this soulless sort of entity. I'm going to sound that way for a second. I'm going to sound like a soulless human being here for a minute.
Go for it.
But you need a strategy for life, right? If you're really going to get through it without having to be medicated constantly, you need to have some kind of strategy for life.
Yeah.
And it's about finding the companies that help you get through life the way you want, and that can do this. So you've got all these people at Startup Boston, right? Mm-hmm. And when I'm listening to their pitches or I'm listening to what they have to say, I'm wondering to myself, okay, but are you actually creating something that people would say, I really couldn't live without that?
Right.
Like, I really need that. I'm going to share something with your audience that I haven't shared broadly, okay? And this is a big one.
All right.
Okay. Now, I'm under NDA with Amazon. I'm under like 7 of them, okay? But I work with them constantly.
Yeah.
And when I ask people, what do you think Amazon's primary mission statement is? This is a couple years ago, so maybe they've changed it, but I don't think they have. What is their mission statement? And I get answers all the time like, supply chain, or, customer experience, or all these kinds of things. And it's none of those things. I was at their offices in 2017, and they asked me to come out and bang on their Amazon Go store.
Okay.
Right, which was the automated checkout.
Right.
And they were just launching it to the public. They had their employees be able to use it, but they were launching the public. So they had me come out and try to steal from it and do fun things. And what my thoughts were on it.
Okay,
right?
that sounds like a fun job.
Yeah, that was fun. They flew me out to Seattle. It was a lot of fun.
To go shoplifting.
To go shoplifting, right?
I like that.
Yeah, this job's very interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're upstairs in the offices talking, and they made a statement that I couldn't believe they said, but I asked them, I said, please, 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 will you give me permission to say that out loud someday? And they did. They said it would be okay. So here's what Amazon's primary mission is. And I would say to anybody that's doing a B2C business, this is what you're competing against. Amazon's mission is to get you to say the word Amazon every day of your life.
Wow.
That is the scariest mission statement I've ever said.
Because and this is written down? Like they're written down? No, this is just...
This was their goal. This is what they communicated to me. They said, our goal is to get the consumer to say Amazon every day of their life.
I mean,
now, think about what's not in that statement. The word buy. That's a big difference. Yeah. And this is why, sure, you've got millions, and I mean millions of Alexa devices out there, and maybe nobody is buying on them. But so what?
Right.
People are saying the word Amazon every day.
Right.
When they're talking to their device, when they're watching Amazon Prime, when they're storing their photos and videos, when they're using Audible, when they're using their Ring doorbell, when they're buying actually on Amazon.com, or going to a fresh store, or going to a Whole Foods, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to, at the time, and I think they've kind of accomplished it, so maybe it's not their mission anymore, They wanted customers, they wanted to be seen as a utility. I'm using their words.
Right.
As a utility in people's lives. A utility.
Yep.
Like your water and your electric.
Like you can't live without
Like
it.
something you wouldn't even think twice about taking out of your life. That's what you're up against.
Okay, so that's amazing and also intimidating, right? So we're at an event for startups. So people are either wanting to start something, they want to fund something, they're interested in the space, right? So what lesson can someone all the way on the other side of the scale from Amazon take from that, right? Because you're not going to go be Amazon. But what can you learn from that kind of mindset as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, the mistake would be to focus on the monetary requirements for doing something like that, because Amazon has the balance sheet of a small country, right? And most of the people here do not
that
have
small.
that, right? I mean, there's some money here, but they're maybe not a small country.
Okay. Medium
A medium-sized country that competes in the Olympics.
There you go.
Right. Okay. I think though, what to take away from that is that, what is your mission statement? How, is it to solve a problem, or is it to be a strategic partner in people's lives?
Right.
Even in a niche sort of way, right? Something that is like, I have to have this in my life. If you're a B2C thing, right? If you're B2B, it would be more of like, do I fit into the ecosystem of what they're trying to accomplish, right? As a business, in a way that, again, they can't really live without me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I find most people starting businesses today miss is they fail to understand that if they don't create this sort of strategic level partnership with their customers or with their buyers or whoever it is, then they are wildly replaceable.
Right.
Easily replaceable.
Right.
And it's not just like people are going to love our product. People fall in and out of love with products. Like, look at Furby's, Rubik's Cubes. People fall in and love with products all the time.
All the time.
Right?
And then what was super hot was super cold. Like, you were in restaurants, that's in bars, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Hot is cold the next day.
Yeah, exactly. So, I still think about like how Facebook, what was that company before Facebook?
MySpace.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Right.
So you couldn't even remember.
I still have my MySpace for Dummies, book.
That's probably worth
way
something.
back, right? But like, think about it. Like we moved from MySpace to Facebook very quickly.
Yeah.
We moved from Blockbuster to Netflix very quickly, right? And that's not just consumers. That's just that those same consumers are in the B2B seats, buying tech and buying things. And so they bring that with them to the office, and they have that same sort of short-term mindset. And it's not a memory problem.
Right.
It's more of just like I have permission to move on. I have permission to change brands. I have permission to not be the Kmart shopper or the whatever,
It's
right?
meaningless now.
Like back in the day, we used to build those. Like, I'm a Lucky Strike guy, right? Like for those cigarette companies, right?
Yeah.
Like these were the elements of creating loyalty, and that's just not present anymore because consumers are like, I don't have the luxury of being inconvenienced to shop with you or buy from you. I don't have that luxury because my kids in 17 different sports, they're now taking after-school activities. My wife and I are both working, blah, 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 to make ends meet and all this kind of stuff, right? Our lives are they're not designed for us to have a lot of time to do things.
Right.
This is why people use, dating apps because no one's got time to go to a bar and hit on someone for 3 hours to try to get a date. Now you got to go to Tinder and swipe left, swipe right for 10 minutes so I can get a few dates.
Right, exactly. It's transactional.
Right, but it's all shortened. Everything's like, condensed.
And that's that. And I love that idea of like the closing, well, not necessarily closing window, but the shrinking sort of space to think about these things, right? And so when we take that back, like your decision is faster, everything's faster, you get stuff faster, you're gonna move brands faster, all that. But when you think about it from like the entrepreneurial side again, straight up, yes or no, do entrepreneurs, no matter what they're doing, no matter what field they're interested in, do they have a choice about using AI or not?
Yes, they have a choice.
Okay, so tell me why.
They do have a choice. Because I think that it has to make sense. I was just having this conversation with our producer here, Dan, just a minute ago about this.
Hey, Dan.
I think what you need to do when you're starting a business is you have to understand where to use automation versus humanization. So, and I think I'm making that word up, but
I like it. It's a good word.
Let's
You
put
can
it in the
coin it.
dictionary. All right, I'm going to coin it. So here's the thing. What I see startups doing that's a mistake is they automate touch points or automate moments in the journey for the customer that would be better served by having a human being involved, right? They try to go all in on AI on every single moment, and that's a mistake. It's overswinging on the pendulum, okay? So what I would say is like evaluate that thing. So what I'm seeing existing small businesses do, like I had a small business owner come up to me the other day. We were talking about his strategy, and he said, I call 10 customers a day. I don't want to lose that by having AI do it for me. And I go, I would tell you that it would, if you did that, it would be the biggest mistake of your career to do that. You should not have AI call 10 customers. But are there other parts of the way you do business that AI could reduce the amount of time you spend there, so now you can call 20 customers a day?
I see. Yes, exactly.
This is the mistake people make, is they start to say, I can apply AI to this thing. Check. No. You need to first do an evaluative statement to say, but is this what's keeping people buying from me?
Right.
Is this the thing that a customer say, I need this to be a human being, or else it's not going to work for me, sort of thing, right? Or I need this to be more personalized, less sterile, less automated, less sort of, shall we say, inauthentic sort of way, right? Can I create that sort of experience? And then looking at the customer journey, and whether it's a journey for customers or buyers, right? If it's a B2B world, if we're looking at that buyer journey and saying, well, you know, like at this moment, is it they can go to the website and self-serve, or are they talking to an outside sales rep? Or are they talking to me, the founder of the company, right? Is it like, who's the right person to have that moment? Because if there is a moment in the buying journey when someone is absolutely gonna make the decision whether or not to buy from you, it should be the highest quality touch point. The mistake would be, let's make it as easy and convenient and simple as possible so they can do this within 2 seconds. That's a UX mindset,
right,
rather than a business strategy mindset, right? It's better to take 5 minutes and make a person feel like this is special than it is to have it take 5 seconds and they're like, I'll drop this next week if I don't feel like doing this, right?
No loyalty.
And I'll give you a great example of this in the real world. Have you ever signed up for Stitch Fix?
No.
Okay.
But I know it.
Okay, you know Stitch Fix, right?
Yeah.
So has anybody here ever signed up for Stitch Fix? Can you hear me? Do you know Stitch Fix? Yeah, okay, you do, right? Okay, there's a person here in the audience that's listening to us.
Good.
You signed up for Stitch Fix. That's like a 20-minute sign-up process, right? Yeah,
wow.
Right? You need to bring a sandwich to this sign-up process to get through it. I'm telling you, right? But you know that 80% of people finish that process?
Why?
Because they know there's going to be value at the end of it for it. And that tells you all you need to know about consumers today. No, they don't want to spend a lot of time doing things unless they believe they're going to get a lot of value out of something. But what they don't want to do is look at your advertisements for 20 minutes, which are in your best interest, not in the consumer's best interest, right? If I'm getting value out of something, I will absolutely spend more time doing it.
Right.
And that's the mistake I think a lot of startups make, is they try to make everything too short. They try to say, we're going to simplify everything to the point where it becomes like indistinguishable from what my customers do, and it feels like it's just a robot. And there's no law of reciprocity that people feel towards AI machines yet.
Right.
And for those that don't know what the law of reciprocity is, if you're old enough, you remember that there was a company, and I forget what it's called, March of Dimes or somebody, that used Ziggy, which is the old cartoon character. And they used to send you those return mailing labels, right? When we did mail, postal mail.
I remember. And I remember Ziggy from the cartoons.
Yeah, and they used to send you these return labels in the mail. And the law of reciprocity says, I felt guilty about you giving me these 5 cents worth of things, so I'm going to give you $1.
Right.
Right? Sort of thing. That's the law of reciprocity.
Right.
You do not create any reciprocity with a consumer when they feel like something on the other end took no effort for someone to do.
Oh, that's super interesting.
When you are dealing with a company and it seems like they didn't really make any effort to add value to your life, then I may sign up with you, buy from you, whatever, but my commitment to you is way low.
Right.
And the next thing that comes along, I'm totally willing to move on to it, right?
Yeah.
So think about what MySpace did, right? MySpace was doing all these things, which were great, but how did Facebook really exceed MySpace? The way that it did it was, what Facebook did is it took that process of me having to take photos, print them out at Walgreens, put them in an envelope, send them to my family members or to my friends, right? It took all that and said, simplify.
Right.
It still gave me value. And it looked like somebody worked on making that work for me.
Right.
Right? Not
Right.
in their best interest, but in my best interest, right? And it created real value. And so this is why you saw this huge shift over to Facebook, because it really did help someone in their lives take, and the majority of people already did this anyway, right? Whether it's friends or family or whatever it was. It allowed the consumer to say, I don't have to do this in my life anymore. Great, check. I'm going to move on to this. Right? And then we move on to the next thing. All right, now I got to get a taxi. Am I going to stand on the corner and get a taxi, or am I going to use
No.
Uber? Right? And so, like, whether it's doctor's appointments, dating, yoga classes, doesn't matter what it is, if we can find something in our lives that can be replaced then with digital, as long as it looks like that, there's two things accomplished. One, I'll adopt it. Two, I'll stay with it because it looks like somebody built it for me.
Right. Right. And so when the budding entrepreneurs, they're here today, like what they should be looking for then is more the problem, not starting with AI as a solution and trying to find a problem to fit to it. Or how would you approach that?
Well said. I
Yeah.
would think that more people, I think what people forget is that there are perceivable problems in people's lives and there are unperceivable problems. And so what I mean is that I think what entrepreneurs fail at sometimes is they fail to understand that pain points live on a scale.
Right.
This is a customer pain point. Yeah, but it's a pain point no one really cares about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, yeah, that's interesting. Like, think of dash buttons.
Okay.
Dash buttons. Remember Amazon dash buttons? No. Okay. Dash buttons were, you could buy a dash button and you put it, it'd like be for a specific item like Tide or
okay.
Clorox.
Gotcha.
And you'd put it around your house, and when you needed Tide, you'd push the button and Tide would come to your house.
Oh, wow. I missed that whole thing.
Right? Sounds cool, right? Sounds cool. Here's the problem. It didn't really solve a consumer problem because I have to walk right by Tide when I go to the grocery store.
Oh, right.
Like, all you did was save me from bending down. You know, like that was the big solve. That was the big solve that the technology.
And they must have put
did.
a lot of money into building that too.
Well,
I'm
sure, but they only, like, I don't remember the numbers, but the numbers for Amazon were very low as far as sales, right?
Yeah.
And so what people forget is that there are scales of those business problems, or the consumer problems, or even business problems, right? Where it's like you can call something a pain point, but if the customer's like, yeah, but that's not that big of a deal. Bending down to pick up Tide from the bottom shelf, or reaching over to grab Clorox and put it in my cart while I'm at the grocery store, really not a big problem.
Probably not something to build a startup around, right?
Right.
Well, that makes sense.
But the technology was there, the capabilities were there, the being able to have mobile devices that could be powered, lightly powered, that can stick anywhere, that could have branding on them, that could be digitally connected to the Wi-Fi, blah blah blah, all this stuff. The tech was all there.
Yeah.
What was missing was the real consumer problem.
Right. Right.
And it's like, I know when you're a startup founder, you're like, I want to call this a consumer problem.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it is, though. And do you think there's a risk? I mean, you can't talk about AI without talking about bubbles, right? We know how this goes. So
Sure.
Do you think that there's an overcorrection or pendulum going too far that way, that we're just trying to solve every problem with AI? People are inventing problems that aren't really problems and solving them? Or do you think we're kind of being rational?
My thoughts on that are going to be much different than most people you'd probably speak to.
That's good. I want to hear it.
So my answer to that is no. I think we're not in a bubble. We're in a stage where people have opportunities, and God bless them for trying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a big fan of that. Like,
Yeah.
I think to get to 10 great ideas, you need to develop 1,000.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So good. I'm glad we're doing 1,000. I'm glad everybody's working on AI. I'm glad everyone thinks AI is going to, like, you've got this, like, overabundance of people working on AI, because what it will result in is 10 great ideas.
Exactly.
If we had, if you could control the world with a snap of your fingers, right, and make it so that only 100 companies are working on AI, then maybe you get one great idea out of it.
So scale
So
matters.
There's nothing wrong with it, right? So this is what I mean by my statement to that would be, a lot of people would say, yes, we're in a bubble, we're overcorrecting, we're doing blah, we're doing this, right, sort of thing. But I think people forget about the process of innovation has a certain framework to it.
Right.
And it is about learning and trying and understanding, right? I mean, yes, the Wright brothers were the one that created the plane, but there were hundreds of other people trying to create ways of flying at the same time that we don't know about anymore because they didn't work out. But the Wright brothers, was one of those hundreds. Right? And what people forget is if the Wright brothers had made the decision to go like, oh, there's 100 other people already working on that. We're not going to bother. Then maybe, I'm sure at some point we would have gotten off the ground, but maybe not as soon as we did.
That's right. No, and we build upon the shoulders of the past. Like even Leonardo da Vinci was like designing things that could fly. I don't think they ever did.
Right. So I would say like if you're a startup and working on AI, be proud of the community. I would even call it the collective that you're a part of that's working on advancing this for humanity, because I think that it takes you're part of something very special, and you may not be the solution that people end up using, but you're going to gain so much experience, you're going to learn so much about AI that even if your company goes belly up and you got to give up on it, you're way more prepared to work for the companies that actually do become successful than somebody who didn't do it, right? So I think that you have to just extend the timeline of success. Failure and success isn't determined whether or not your company makes it. Failure and success is determined by what you do with it after you hit one of those points. Right? And I think that is where I love entrepreneurship, and this is why I believe that entrepreneurs are the heart and soul of this country, because of the fact that they are the ones who build the collective that allow us to have the great ideas, and then they are the people that are experienced that go into those companies that succeed and even create faster innovation because they're already experienced in that technology.
So check your data, make sure you're getting your information from a neutral source, that has a sense of what's going on and is not going to.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, there you go. Fine, Brendan. Not going to BS you, right? Not going to spin it, and then jump in.
Jump in. I'm a huge fan of jumping in and learn about it and understand it and find people who are excited about it like you are. Like I said, if you're an individual that's intellectually curious by your nature, and I think I used the word DNA earlier, if it's in your DNA to be intellectually curious, then it would be a crime for you to never try to open your own business. And a crime to not try to do something innovative with the amazing things that are going on with AI right now. And I am not one of these sort of like analysty people that very quickly say words like that. People usually say I'm the most like boring practical analyst on the planet, right?
Seems like a good thing to be.
I normally am. But I just have to say, like, what's going on right now is I think, and you and I could talk for hours about just the examples of what's going on out there as far as the way people are replacing just very mundane things. I just saw an example of a solution where you could hold up an avocado to a device and it could tell you if it's ready to eat or not.
Okay, whoever invented that, thank you. Because, seriously.
Right?
That's a pain point.
For some people, right? For avocado eaters, I guess it's a pain point.
If you like avocados.
Right? But like that to me is like, this is what I mean. Like I just took the stupidest little thing and said, this is what's happening. Now, blow that out to everything, right? And that to me is such a fun space to be in right now. It's almost like the world is your playground, right? And so, the other thing I would say is after working with a lot of startup people and a lot of investors and a lot of people who've done this, I would say just do not. I'm going to kind of quote Stephen King here, like, be willing to kill your darlings, right? And be willing to say this was a good idea at the time, but actually. I'm going to let it mature into what it needs to be, without defining it and forcing it to be something that I wanted to be when I first wrote that business plan.
Oh God, it changes like every day, right? When you're really building something, you have to be open-minded because it could change. It
not only could change, it probably will change. It will change because you don't know enough yet. You don't know enough to do what it is you want to do.
Exactly.
And so, like, this is what I see, example of what I see in people that are doing things in the fractional world, right? We talked about this earlier. Is like I see more and more people are building fractional careers because it gives them access to so much more than working for one company.
That's right. And you don't have to necessarily build your own thing. You can be a fractional and you can go in and learn that way and just really kind of get deep into it.
Yeah, and you probably make more money doing it too. But the reality is that
more sleep.
Get more sleep. Right? I think the fractional world is something that's kind of blowing up too, and that's helpful with AI because a lot of people can self-serve on these AI tools to help them do the fractional work, to have the amount of productivity time that allows you to work for 1, 2, 3 companies, plus be on a board here or a board there or a nonprofit or whatever, right? And or run a podcast, right, or something like that. The ability to do all those things, they're not going to take as much time because all AI can be applied to all the elements of doing those things.
Exactly.
And you're going to gain more experience generally by doing more things for more people. And I think that what a lot of entrepreneurs that I've talked to have actually like crafted their career to not just work for one company for 10 years, but to work for an assortment of them and pick up things along the way that help them start a business collectively in aggregate.
Fail on someone else's time.
Yeah. Fail on someone else's time.
Right. Good. Well, and that's a great place to
My
end.
clients are not like me saying that, but let's leave it at.
Let's leave it at that. But yeah, it's so great to see you again. It's always a pleasure. And we know we're going to have you back because you're part of the crew. So thank you so much for coming down to Suffolk today. And it was really fun chatting.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you for joining us on Building AI Boston. Stay tuned for more enlightening episodes that put you at the forefront of the conversations shaping our future.